send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com. You're listening to ShowX on VTWProductions.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. Sorry about that hiccup as we were getting into things, as it seemed like the stream decided to just like choke and die on us, and at least it waited until it was essentially break time and reminded us that it was time for us to take a break. So we are back, and thank you for your patience. That is always a frustration. We try our best to keep the interwebs happy, and sometimes they aren't. Anyhow, as we continue on with things, and welcome back, was there anything else we want to discuss that was kind of unique and exciting or new so far as what you've been doing in your American adventures in the middle of Michigan, Miss May, that you have seen that's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, or these are the things
no audio.
What?
Oh, there is audio.
Okay, I was going to...
Probably says there's audio. Your dad is having no audio.
I was going to say.
Did you mute it?
No, I was going to say, I see us bouncing, so hopefully if need be, restart, or let's see. May need to restart. Oops, T.
Yeah, we don't want saying it. I was going to just give instructions.
Saying it as I type it for those who... Yes, unfortunately, when we have the hiccups, it sometimes makes everything just like not come back quite how it should. We keep trying to wrangle technology.
The American solution of, oh, you don't understand me. Let me speak louder.
Louder and slower. Yes.
Yes, this is how you learn English.
But yeah, so were there any other stories that we wanted to kind of get off? And as much as it may seem normal and not a big deal for you, May, I know our fans are loving hearing you tell stories. Admittedly, one of the things we lament a little bit is that because of Ken's influences through both the show and his wife, that he is the worst representation of a proper Scot. And so, the nodding in agreement that because we can all understand everything he says perfectly fine. As well as whenever we try to...
To be fair, very bad podcast, vidcast, whatever, if 50% of the audio was unintelligible.
But it is one of those things that for us it is a novelty, but in a great way to hear good proper Scottish accent whenever we are chatting, to bring that into the show. I know every one of the fans is loving that, so we appreciate the stories.
And I was curbing that accent so I'd be understood.
See, I keep trying to say, don't even try to stop it. Let it out. We want to hear what's natural.
It's fine. If they don't understand you, they'll be like, "Oh wow, Scots."
Well, because
So I
admittedly,
don't say that anymore.
No.
Right.
yeah, well, because there was something you had said, and I forgot what it was, that caught me for a second, where I had to listen to it again, or when Ken then said it, that I was like, oh, okay, got it. And I joke, man, that one of my more entertaining things is when I did go to Scotland, that, or even back to when we first met at the wedding in Florida, that the challenge I had initially was Malcolm. That hearing Malcolm speak to me was like, whoa. And I had to brace myself. I had to focus. And then I laughed because after about a day's exposure, it started kind of, okay, I'm catching it. I'm doing better. And then what was really entertaining was going to the reception when I went to Scotland. It took me that second again to get reacquainted with Malcolm and like, all right, got it. Okay, cool. But then when I met the Grands.
Experience recently with this. My one of my colleagues is a Chinese guy, and he said to me last week, he said, I'm sorry, could you repeat that last sentence? Because I actually asked him a question. And he said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Could you please repeat that? You were speaking very fast. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. Most people actually understand me here. But now I think about, of course, somebody with a Chinese background who just recently moved here, just learned English.
Yeah, an extra layer.
So, I may be understandable to Americans, but maybe not Chinese people if I'm speaking at my normal, if I'm not actually making an effort. So.
Yeah, no. But so, yeah, then when I went to the reception in Scotland and got used to Malcolm again, once I met your grandparents, that took it to a whole nother, a whole nother level of me going like, ooh, oh, I don't. There were quite a few moments, especially at the reception when everyone had imbibed a little bit and had some things to drink, that at that point, everything got very Scottish. And I was kind of like, yep, everyone's cheery. I got you. So I very much appreciate it. It makes me smile. Oh, boy. But, okay, so you did to eat, you got to Walmart, otherwise it sounds like you're not venturing out enough right now due to the snow. But do you have any other major plans for the rest of the time that you're here?
Not really.
No, well, she goes back tomorrow. It was a very short trip. So today we just went and did some chore things we had to do. I should also make an announcement. This is actually very big news. I'm very happy to say that Ken Features has now got a job here.
Hey! Awesome.
Yeah, so on Thursday, I emailed a contact of mine at the university. I said, hey, do you know of any administration jobs going in your department? And he said, email this guy. So I emailed him saying, hey, do you know of any jobs going? He said, send me her CV or resume.
Yeah.
So I did. So they said, yep, let's interview her when she's free. And I just said, look, I'm going to stop middlemaning at this point. I'll say, here's her email address, right?
Nice.
So the interview was planned for the next morning. So within 24 hours, she'd had the interview and been offered the job straight away.
Awesome.
Which was amazingly fast and it was great news. So Ken will be working in effectively the same building as me, which is pretty much the same as the previous place we worked. We worked in different organizations technically, but it was one building apart that has about 6 meters difference between the entrances, right? This time technically it's different buildings again, but they're actually connected, so you don't even feel like you're transitioning buildings when you're walking through the corridors. So it's good. It's going to be a part-time role, and it's a quite prestigious admin position. So I'm very proud and excited for her.
That is super cool to hear.
Yeah, she starts tomorrow.
Hey.
So today, no, we don't really have any more plans. We're going to go out. We're going to go out and do some clothes shopping, and then and we're also going out for a meal tonight.
Yes, definitely.
We're going to a Chinese restaurant nearby.
Okay, I was going to ask if you were taking
we got Kitty Cam up.
Yeah, I figured I would play, as I had promised that in the future, that whenever my kitty Tetra decides to join and sit in the other chair, that I would share that with others so that those of the copy nature and kitten features and such would have something else to be entertained by.
K-Cam. Well, we should really change the text so it's the same as ours, and maybe we should have a Twitter as well.
Oh gosh, my cats do not need a Twitter yet. They are enough of a handful that I wouldn't even know what to.
Auto tweeting K-Cam live, and then twitch.com/show X.
Just to bring it on that it adds to. So yeah, throwing that on there for the sensibilities of our fans. I figured those that would appreciate.
That's good.
So, although all we're going to see is basically Tetra cleaning herself. So there you
go. So no, the plans is to go out for a meal tonight. Then tomorrow I'll be at work, and
Kitten Features will be at work.
Kitten Features will be at work, so you'll be here with the pups.
Reading their cupboards.
Yeah.
I don't know. See what I can find in their kitchen.
And then I'll be driving her to the airport before you leave.
Yeah.
That's it.
Gotcha.
We'll be home.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it has been a lovely trip, even though it's been a bit short. And nice settling to know that your son is in their new place. That Kitten Features and Ken are now settled here in the United States and making progress. So hopefully that feels good to be able to take home with all of that. And we very much appreciate you being on the show with us today. So this is fun. But with that, then, as Storytime seems to have come to a conclusion, I think it is appropriate for us to switch over then and talk about things a little more geek. And so with that, we will switch over to a little bit of...
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
And Ken, do we want to continue on the same path of me going first, or I don't know if you have anything specific you want to bring up geek this week?
I have a little bit. My mom also has a little bit that we can talk about.
Good.
But please go first. We're taking up so much time. I think it's fair that you.
Oh no, this is a special opportunity, so it is absolutely appropriate. We don't get this nearly enough, and so it is appreciated and wonderful. All right, so my little bit of geek this week, as I was going through, and big shout out to Preacher, who's in chat as part of this, as well as El Campo, is that we have continued to be playing around with the Star Citizen beta, Alpha. Nice. I keep wanting to say beta is not that far along. Alpha 3.8.1, I think is... No, we're not in 0.1 yet. That one's still in the public test server right now. But we have been making a go of trying to get more and more attachment together of all of us playing as a group to see what we can do to really enjoy all things that are Star Citizen. And it's funny because as much as we continue to kind of struggle with whether it's not complete and it is buggy, but we are still really enjoying it. And so it's an interesting process to be in where there are so many little hiccups that happen, but at the same time, it's just entertaining to be in the process of dealing with it. Yes, Preacher, I would like to in some ways apologize because every time he ends up going on anything with us, he has to go back and reclaim all kinds of different things. And I had to go back there and kind of figure out, like, where are all my ships? Where in the universe did they end up? We did find out yesterday, Preacher, that while thank you for letting us borrow the mule to go out there and do some group mining, because we didn't actually gain ownership of the mule and you weren't in it with us, we mined a whole bunch of resources that just disappeared. It didn't stay in your hold. Or maybe if you load up that mole, or the mule or whatever, maybe you'll be able to go and see there's a bunch of resources for you to claim that we did not. So, because of course, once I went back and landed, it couldn't come up on my thing to do any trading with it. So I wouldn't say wasted effort. I got to teach Kyle how to mine and go through some processing there. But yeah, we were stuck like, well, that happened. We also had issues going through with some of the bugs still where we had Spin with us, and Spinbot came up to the bridge of the ship that we were borrowing from Preacher. And Kyle was in the passenger seat, and I was in the pilot seat, or he was in the co-pilot seat. And while Spin was standing between us, Kyle got out of the seat, and the animation of it causes it to turn the seat and the character to stand up out of it. Well, apparently that takes hierarchy over anyone standing in the middle because it basically insta-killed Spinbot. And the challenge with that is we'd already gone through the effort of all meeting up because you are traveling from different parts of the galaxy and stuff to meet up physically in the game. And you don't just teleport. And so in doing that...
Do you have any video of this or any of your...
I wasn't streaming this one because I'm trying to limit how often I stream our shenanigans. I'm still trying to figure out things and stuff like that. And so wasn't streaming this time, somewhat sad. But because there was a few things. Well, but in that process, he came out and instantly died. And unfortunately, the last time he had created a spawn point, which you do by either landing officially, legally getting landing clearance and landing on a shop or a station, or if you have a vehicle that you own that has a bed space in it, is going in, laying down on that bed, and then logging out using the logout menu within the game to save that state that you're in that ship and where it's at. Those are ways to instantiate where you will spawn the next time you come into the game. Well, he had just kind of bypassed any of those and came straight to where we were. So when he died unexpectedly and came back up, he was back all the way across the galaxy, 40-something million kilometers away, which would have taken him significant time to get back to us. So we kind of just continued on mining without him, unfortunately. It was right as we were exiting quantum space to get to the planet. So there was that piece, and shortly thereafter, as we were kind of chuckling about his unfortunate demise, that we were left with Kyle and I, that as I started getting closer and closer to the planet's surface, I was watching my altitude really well, but realizing that the Mule, or whatever, this ship is a bit of a workhorse beast, and so it has big engines on it. It accelerates wonderfully. Not so good at the stopping. And I was aware of this, and I was paying attention to this. And so as I was getting to the planet and I started getting closer and closer, I saw the altitude, I started reducing my speed. And I was like, all right, we're getting there. And then I turned to start kind of like braking and changing my momentum to forward, watching my altitude continue to diminish at a rapid pace. And Kyle looking out the window like, yeah, I don't think I can keep us from hitting the planet from grounding out. Much to my happiness, unexpectedly, but it was somewhat teased by Preacher prior. This ship is a beast. It is a brick. It is very sturdy. So even though I had a rapid motion of descent going into the planet's surface and literally bounced and rolled off of it, the ship survived. And so it was a bit scary, but it absolutely lived through it. And we have tested the durability of this ship in multiple ways, between not braking in time to blowing up rocks under us that go careening into us and cause the ship to go flying around. Previous adventure when we had done that, Spin was in his own ship and was doing mining as a separate thing, but was too close to one of the rocks that we accidentally exploded. And while the Mule itself went careening into space, but we all survived, his ship instant exploded and he died. And so, man, we've killed Spin a couple times. This is unfortunate.
It's a meme now. Let's play Star Citizen. In other words, let's kill Spin.
Well, it means I will crash something, will likely explode Spin somehow, or somehow unfortunately kill him. But even through those kind of alpha experiences in the game, most of us who've played all agree we've had a hoot, and that it is just a good, entertaining time to have this kind of open world to decide what do you want to do. One of the things we other said is like, oh, we've been doing this mining thing to earn money. Maybe we can take on one of these, missions that is to go clear out baddies. And so we're like, let's go. And we had 4 of us in our own ships, because now we could go pew-pew against people in space. And we all showed up, and man, were there a lot of baddies. As soon as we arrived, unfortunately, El Campo was still running around with a criminal status on his record. And so with us flying around, and you looked at his tag, and it came up red like he was an active target. So we're like, okay, you want to shoot the things that are red, but don't shoot Campo. Make sure you check out his nameplate so we don't shoot our friend. He's helping us. And it's cool because you took the mission and you could share it with everyone in your party. So that was like straightforward and pretty easy. So we all fly up to a meetup point, which was really cool. It's like meet here and then fly to the mission place. Sweet. So we got all our ships. We kind of coordinated when we arrived at the main point. Get there. And I want to say there were a good 20 baddies there. And in my experiencing, taking on one is a challenge, at least in my ship, because it's not just a gunship. And so we started flying through there and just getting ripped apart to a point where my beautiful little Origin 300, I do wish I'd stream more of this, was left down to just the wings got destroyed completely out. And so I was left with just the main cockpit of it and a main engine. And it was had no maneuverability. I couldn't brake at that point. In order to slow down and stop, I had to turn backwards to let the engine stop me, versus because all my maneuvering thrusters were blown up. So that was fun. But
Hando in the chat said, Doc, you need more KSP in your life. And I thought that was just short for kill Spin.
Oh,
But no, it's Kerbal Space Program.
yeah,
of course.
Kerbal, more Kerbal, and I can understand that. That would make sense. No, it's oh gosh. So even though it is in alpha, and it is still not really a full-on play the game, those of us who've been jumping on recently with 3.8 because of the persistence and trying to earn money and things like that, I think all of us have been having a good time. So we continue to try to jump into the game when we can, which has been fun. I'm slowly making money. I found for me the least scary is just to do delivery missions. I can make somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 credits per delivery mission in about a half hour. Not bad. Mining is definitely still the most efficient because you can make 20 to 40,000 an hour if you're very active with it. But it's nice because you're doing that to get towards the point where I might be able to buy another ship in game or at least rent some bigger ones and play with them as I go. So it's really entertaining. So we've been playing through and having fun with that. Other than that, gaming-wise, I tried this morning to do Temtem a little bit right before getting onto the stream because Temtem's going through its load-based one. This is the Pokemon clone that people have been playing. And I got loaded, I made a character, I got into the main screen, got out the door of the family establishment, which is absolutely the exact storyline of Pokemon. Every Pokemon ever, even though this is not Pokemon at all. Right out the door, big crowd of people saying congrats, met my rival coming up saying, hey, I'm doing the same thing today as well, and then got kicked from the server. And it's like, dang it!
Hey.
Well, that's been my experience with Temtem. It looks really pretty, and I think it looks like it would be a lot of fun, but I have not been able to play it. I'm so sad. Other than that, I just met, last time I played, I got to ranked level Silver 4 in League of Legends.
Wait, what?
Yep, I am ranked as now Silver 4 in League of Legends.
So this is a good time for me to tell you that I got ranked to Bronze 4.
So Ken, it's okay. I although I see your pensive face where you're kind of like, what the heck? I'll let you down easy. In ranked team fight tactics.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell, man? I thought you didn't want to play with me. Oh.
So not in Summoner's Rift, not in the traditional game, but in the Teamfight Tactics, which my younger brother and I play in ranked mode, because it's no pressure, and you just have to strategize and play the best you can, but you're not letting down a team or anything like that. And so but it's still entertaining because one bad loss in the rank of 8, and you will drop a significant amount of points towards your ranking. But I was happy because I think my brother was mentioning, I don't know if he did say he made it to silver or not. I may have beaten him there, but I know he was in the top of bronze for a while, and so I don't know if I skipped over him or not, but I think we're pretty close to where our success rate has been. But that's been entertaining for me. The last thing I was going to mention when it came to Geek this week is that the party I went to yesterday was for a friend of mine's 30th birthday, and he is really into it. I'd asked his wife at the time, like, what things is he into these days, popular and stuff like that, and he came up with Vikings. And he's like, he loves Viking, kind of the looks, the feel, and it makes sense because some of the symbology and stuff he actually has tattooed on him and things like that. So I went through the magic of Yegi and finding things on various propagation sites for 3D print models and found him 3 examples that I appreciated. One was and the first one he opened in the gift that he really enjoyed was a basically heavy metal dwarf. And so it was like a dwarf that had a cape on with a crazy hairstyle playing an electric guitar while standing on a pile of coins. And
cool. That's badass. Yep.
I argued it's a modern dwarven bard, essentially.
Okay.
Right. But he was very appreciative, so I did it in a nice glossy bronze silk filament. So it was nice and shiny like that. I also printed him, so this is all thanks to my robots for being able to provide presents and gifts for others. I did another little statue that was more serious, but it was a Viking holding a sword kind of thing there, and shield on its back and a horned helmet and such. It was kind of neat, and a little copper material that I had. And then this really fun one that I did with a multicolor that is a Viking kind of plaque almost, the face of a Viking in the center with big twin axes up on the sides of it, and a lot of the symbology and such on it. And I used one of my filaments that is both a shiny, a silky one, and it changes color over the spool. And so it kind of changes gradient as you print it up. And he thought that was really slick and was really happy to kind of show off those gifts. And for me, it was fun because while normally I would sell those things for an all right amount of money, me just printing them and kind of playing with the filaments is, I won't say no cost to me, but it's kind of an easy thing for me to do.
Sure, it's stuff that you've bought for all you do is buy the raw materials, and that was a prepaid expense anyway, so it's effectively free.
Yeah, it's something I've already invested in, so I didn't have to invest in more for him other than time on my machines, and the robots like can be finicky, and I have to go service a couple of them again, because heaven forbid they all stay active and not break themselves in the process. But so that's pretty much what I've got for Geek this week of things I've been accomplished. And so how about yourselves, Reeds? What have you been doing that has been geeky this week?
Well, I think we should focus on my mum's geek cred. At first, it's not embarrassing. Jeez.
This is the right audience for anything that is geeky. We love this.
Tell our audience your experience with video games in the past, right? As a quick overview.
Yeah, well, I used to play video games. I was a great fan of Lara Croft.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. Yeah, played those.
Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3, and a little bit of 4.
Love the Tomb Raiders, yes.
Also played Spyro the Dragon.
Ooh, love Spyro.
PlayStation 1, yeah.
Oh, dear. How far back do you want me to go to? You want to go back to the table tennis on the TV?
But yes, actually. No, I love that. I love hearing like your first experience with digital gaming. I love hearing that because that is a generation above ours.
That's okay. Go on.
It's ancient history, isn't it?
It is, but go on.
Oh no, I did this when my parents came and we did an interview about what got me into geek and the kind of technology that they appreciated in their day and age. For me, it was awesome to hear because it, in a way, almost sounds like it actually runs in the blood a bit. That I would enjoy gaming too.
Well, our very first computer we got was a VIC-20, Commodore 64.
Oh, right.
Nice. Yes.
And to play games on it, you tended to have to type in command lines. We had a game called Monkey Island, Escape from Monkey Island.
Oh, love the Monkey Island series.
And you had to type in command lines to get them to do something. It was so difficult.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so gaming's come on a lot since then. And that was my first experience, Escape from Monkey Island.
That's a good one to start because that has such humor in it. You're from the Dread Pyro LeChuck.
Never got very far with it because we couldn't figure out the right commands a lot of the time. And the typing of these things took quite some time.
See, they have rerun those series now where you can use the mouse control and click through because they've revamped Monkey Island for both Cursed, Escape, and I know they did it for Curse, which is the original, but I think they might have done all three of kind of the original Monkey Islands. They revamped, make it easier to play with newer graphics too. They're pretty. Now that's awesome. So as you've progressed now to gaming, and I think what your son is hinting at, what has been your experience recently?
So this morning, my mom and I woke up earlier than Kitten did. So we decided to kill some time watching YouTube videos and stuff.
Of course.
And have some coffee. And then I decided to open up the PS4 and I had to look through the game library and thought, is there anything here that would actually be like accessible and actually fun, not just be a pain? And for somebody who doesn't play video games, like in they're not Facebook games in literally decades, right?
Yes.
And I saw Trine 2 was sitting there.
Good choice.
Pre-installed. So Trine, as most people probably already know about, I'll describe it briefly. Trine is a series of games. There's 4 of them right now, made by Frozen Byte. It's kind of an unknown producer, but they publish such fantastic games. The Trine games are really beautiful works of art. They're really fun puzzle games. They're not particularly complex. Like you can generally get through a game in a day if you want to, but they're also fairly cheap. Most of them are just beautiful visual experiences. You play. The reason it's called Trine is that there's a magical artifact in the game called the Trine, which collects 3 heroes to go on an adventure to save the land. And the 3 heroes are traditional archetypal classes of warrior, mage, and rogue, / archer. So in each of the games, you play as these 3 characters, and you try and get through this sort of platformer type levels that are, I think they're described as 2.5D because it's 2D, but you can sometimes interact with elements that are in 3D, right?
Yes.
So it's they're really beautiful games. I really love the Trine series. I've played 1, 2, and 3 fully. I've not played 4 yet, even though it came out last month. Anyway, we played Trine 2 because we have installed on the PlayStation, and we tried to play it 2-player at first, but one of the controllers wasn't working. So I just said, "You just play it. I'll talk you through the different elements, and it'll be fine." So we started a new game, and well,
yes, well, so the basis of it is that you need to change between these 3 characters in order to solve all the puzzles. And I got on fine to begin with. I could throw a rope up, grapple, and swing. And
so you went through the 3 tutorial levels
Uh-huh.
that were for each of the characters. So you play as the mage, you play as the warrior, and you play as the rogue, and you learn what all their basic abilities are. Yeah.
and then you're supposed to remember which buttons to press to make them do all these things. So he left me to play this by myself, which was fine, got on great, until I met the first combatant. So this, I don't know what it was.
Goblin.
This goblin was attacking me, so the first thing I did was change from the warrior to the mage instead of swinging my sword.
So the mage is very useful for puzzle stuff because you can build boxes and ladders to try and navigate through this platformer. Not very useful against multiple enemies. So, of course, playing as the warrior is very wise of my mum to do, but it turned out her memory of which buttons did which, and maybe telling her fingers which buttons did which, was the failing here. So she moved from this powerful warrior ready to fight anything to the mage standing in his, dress.
But I saved the day because I made him run away.
Yes.
Until I figured out how to swing a sword again. So I changed back to the warrior, got my sword out, at some point changed it into a hammer, but they still fought the goblins, so I got there. But, it's a bit frustrating trying to remember all the different ways to... So you go back to the mage and you want to conjure a box, and...
You do have to remember like all 3 of the characters' abilities and how they function. Because one of the nice things about the Trine series is it lets you do things in a way that are creative in your own mind, so you can solve problems kind of however you choose with whichever character you choose. Sometimes you do have to interact between them, but they usually have enough flexibility in there that, yes, you could kill a creature by dropping a box on its head. Or you could kill a character by taking the sword and straight up attacking it. There's a lot of means of how you can accomplish whatever you're doing. And so it's good in that way, but at the same time can be frustrating because if you especially when you ramp things up and have to do them a little faster in order to survive, being able to switch through and know which thing you're trying to do at each case. Because with Trine, they also go that step where even on the computer it's difficult. Like to draw boxes, right, or planks, you have to draw it to kind of do the spell versus just, I think maybe it lets you hit a button to do it, but I know like on mouse or something you have to like draw the shape for the mage to which one you're conjuring and such. So there's some difficulty. And with the archer one, you get to actually shoot the arrows, but sometimes it takes a few more arrows to kill someone. So it's an entertaining game in that it's very flexible, but it can be challenging, especially as things go fast.
Well, what were your thoughts on the game? Did you actually enjoy playing it?
I did enjoy playing it. I didn't find it a problem remembering the special skills of each of the 3 characters. The problem was what to do on the controller to make them do that, which was a bit frustrating at times. But I would say it's relatively easy to pick up, given that I haven't had a game controller in my hand for...
That was part of it, right? I'd be like, press circle, and she'd be like, looking at the screen, and then go, circle, right?
Well, and we joke about that. I love the memes, especially that come out about how gamers get a little concerned when the game says press this control, specifically X, circle, square, whatever it might be. Especially because you can look, and for every major controller, right, they change the layout of which one's X, which one's circle, and things like that. Where between Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, they're all different. Yeah. And so you're just like, which system am I on? Which one am I playing with? And like for my challenges, because I'll use an Xbox controller on the PC, but it doesn't always map it to the Xbox as a controller. It does like generic PC controller in some games. And so you have to figure out which one's which and not just rely on the symbol they show you, but the action. So yeah, definitely.
So both Copy and Hando and the IRC have been asking relevant and pointing out past times we played together. And I don't know what you're talking about. Hando says, "Did you troll your mum like you do to us, Ken?" And Copy said, "Ken trapped me under boxes." I never did such a thing. What are you talking about? That was part of the strategy. You were part of the pillar to build upon. You were the base of the pillar. It's a very important part of the puzzle.
To allow you to succeed. Yeah, we have often discussed that playing multiplayer co-op games with Ken can sometimes be a challenge because not everyone is on the same page about what the entertainment part of it is. What it is that you're doing for fun. Some people like to, I don't know, complete levels in the game itself. Other people like to see the world burn.
I like to see Hando or Copy or yourself trying to swing across a gorge. Then when you're halfway through, I conjure a ladder right in front of you. So it's like smack and then falling down.
Yes. Ken is the ultimate troll to try to play a cooperative game with. Like, totally fine to play competitive games against Ken because you know that you're trying to work against each other. But when you're trying to, in your mind, think we're trying to work together to accomplish a task, not realizing that that's only in your mind and not in Ken's, that becomes its own challenge.
Copy said, Magicka with Ken is my favorite.
Because you can kill everybody.
Magicka's a game where you have 8 different buttons, which all represent an element, like fire, water, life, death, electricity, earth, and so on. And you combine these for different effects. So you can, for example, make a shield. If you mixed it with fire, you'd have a fire shield, or with rock, you'd have a rock shield, and all these different things. And for some reason, when you play on co-op mode, you might accidentally throw a rock at somebody's face, right? Like, that can happen. It's just it's a common workplace accident. That's all it's entirely
depending on who your coworkers are, it's more common than others.
Possibly. Hando also says, we just try to ignore him until he gets bored. I never get bored.
Yeah, I was going to say, for some people...
I have fun with my friends.
Yeah, at their expense. So, but no. It's definitely not something that...
Today,
that's all because your controller wouldn't work.
Yeah, you're quite lucky.
That's where the question initially came up. Until the story went on that essentially made you got to play on your own to experience it, we were very curious what the experience would have been if you had actually played with your son.
Or his copy says, accidentally shooting lightning into the water as your party crosses a river.
Like, well, you guys, he was motivating everyone to get across faster.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Like, yeah. I remember one of these Magicka games, I learned this ridiculous spell that dropped meteors all around the map. And, like, it was great if you're playing alone. You would just shield yourself and let it damage everybody else. But if you're playing with 4 people...
and you don't tell anybody.
They just started the game, and they don't know any of the spells. And I use this, like, ridiculously complex spell that does this meteor shower. And then, they're running around like with headless chickens.
It's good times. So... Oh, no, that's good to share. We appreciate that is good to share and fun times.
Is there anything, Craig, you'd like to share? Anything else you've done that's geeky?
Not that I can think of.
Any films you've seen? Any books you've read?
Come under geek.
Yeah.
Anything sci-fi or just particularly niche and unique that is kind of your thing. Because really, anything can be geek.
Yeah. It's anything you're passionate about.
Yeah. I was discussing with Kitten Features the latest book I had on Audible.
Hey, and if you want to, guys, because I did not bribe my mum to say that. You can sign up for Audible with our link, and it makes us pennies, and we appreciate that. Please continue.
Yeah, so no, I'm a great fan of Audible. I love to listen to books when I'm driving my car. The latest book I've been listening to is one called The Help, which I found absolutely fascinating insight into the southern states of America in the early 60s. Now, just to make sure you all know I'm old, I was born in 1960, so this was set during my lifetime, which I find absolutely shocking that these behaviours, these attitudes were still live and ongoing during my lifetime, because tend to think of anything to do with racism or slavery must have been ancient history. And it's not necessarily so.
Even today, there's still slavery around the world.
That's another conversation that actually I had with my parents today, which is how it's amazing but true that younger generations today often feel like anything that has happened in the past is ancient history, that it is many generations removed. And I've had to explain multiple times that, like, my parents got married in a time frame where it was not cool for mixed races to get married. And that's my parents, not like my grandparents or great-grandparents, my direct parents. And so whenever people look at, and we were talking about it, people do need to pay more attention to the past. Mm-hmm. It's those old adages we all talk about you're doomed to repeat, all the things negative if you don't pay attention. And even in today's day and era, and I was bringing up, admittedly, somewhat politically, but when it comes to the comments of how do I say this? What I call it's a theme to get under without really a defined answer. And specifically, it's the Make America Great Again, that comment alone. Without getting into details of what it is, but my challenge to that sales pitch is that is about people's beliefs of what they personally see as a good thing, and it's very nebulous because it doesn't necessarily speak to what others think that means. It's not specific, and it's more just a feeling. And so when you try to get under a moniker like that, there's a challenge there in the sense that just because you think certain things mean great, it doesn't mean that people who are actually making decisions and that are being empowered by people who support that share what great means. Things like that. And because and the again part of it I focus on, because when are you pointing to that was great? Because I can argue that today is one of the greatest times to be alive, in the sense that, death rates are some of the lowest they've ever been. Medical care, whether it's expensive, not, or whatever, accessibility is in the best place it's ever been. That overall throughout the world, freedoms for different groups are as diverse and wonderful as they've ever been, compared to a lot of times in the past. And it's interesting that people don't seem to be able to point to a specific time or implement of like what it is that is better than where we're at today. There are feelings that maybe people don't have as much representation they'd like, but I often argue, show me a point in the time in the past where it was better. And in some very specific, very individual cases, you can find that. But if you look at the world as a whole at different times, it's a bigger challenge. I say that to try to not jump on the whole political side of it, but there's just, to me, that I have concerns when things are categorized as too broadly. And I think that's a theme I've pushed throughout. Labeling groups, things like that, anything that's too broad is a significant risk because everybody has their own nuances. And I will step off of my political, rant with that. Trying to keep it minimal. It was
actually recently, I saw a comment thread on Facebook where somebody was mentioning that, I don't know, something to do with Trump or whatever in Michigan, and somebody commented saying, up here in the north, white people have no power anymore, and they have no political say. You have to be of color to have any political say up here. In the South, they have it right. And I was like, what are you even talking about? That's just not the case whatsoever.
No.
If anything,
so yes, it's just not true.
Who has power and who doesn't? But trust me, buddy, that's not you've got that the wrong way round up north,
Well, that's where I say it speaks more to people's feelings versus the facts. It goes to another thing I told my mom today, because I know the shock value when I state it. But when I say things like, whenever people bring up emotional answers to logical discussions, I dismiss it and I tell them to their face that I'm dismissing it because it's not logically based. For me, the example I always say is whenever someone says, but think about the kids, I always say, screw the kids, kill the kids. Let's move on and talk about the actual conversation. Let's talk about
that comment. But
I agree
with the idea that you shouldn't be bringing emotion into it when it's a political thing.
It's how I get past the emotional part they're trying to state and say, let's assume the kids all get killed. Let's move on. What's the real discussion? Because once you start bringing up the emotional basis, you're trying to get past logic because your argument has lost all weight. And so I try to say, no, let's get back to the facts of the case. How does this long-term affect things? How does it affect everybody? I will not focus on a specific group because that's not accurate or fair, in my opinion. And that's so, but I bring that up because that is what I most often hear when people have arguments that I can understand their motivation because they care so much, and for them, that is a big emotional hook. But for me, I tell them that doesn't have any weight with me, so please give me something beyond thinking about the sake of the kids.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense. You can definitely classify me as a horrible person.
I think if you just take that snippet where you talk about how all children should die, then yeah, you could probably get.
I say, screw the kids, kill the kids. Cut that clip. There you go.
Your actual point that you're trying to make across by saying that, I think, is understandable. Right. So, anything else, Geek?
Well, actually, and here's another opportunity because I love these too. Matt, you're straight over from Scotland, UK. What are some of the biggest concerns you have back home that maybe those of us here in the States do not know or aren't aware of?
Like political concerns?
Political anything. It could be everything from like how's Brexit to it could be are you starting to smell the fires in Australia to anything that's going on in the world. But that is more because I love to hear what is important to people in their local everyday lives versus the worldwide stuff.
Brexit's been such a huge thing in all the news for so long, but to be honest, we're bored to tears with it. We're fed up of it.
I imagine so.
Gone. Whatever.
Yeah, either do it or not, but get it done.
Even when it was coming around to the election in December about it, I mean, that was supposed to be the linchpin of the election, and nobody really gave us stuff about it anymore. We were sick to death of it.
Yep, makes sense.
I think the general attitude was that there was a vote, the vote went, we're going to have Brexit, we'll just get on and do it. So
I think, but then there was a lot of issues with people being upset with what that meant, because that's the big problem now is that people keep saying, people who are pro-Brexit keep saying things like Brexit means Brexit, as if that's an answer.
Yeah,
like,
by itself.
We pay the EU billions of pounds in the next few years to slowly get out, or does it mean that we just cut off suddenly and we have no support, or is there something in between? It's a big question. It's an economic question with law involved and with trade agreements involved. You know, like who owns which part of the sea? Like, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of important there. But no, Brexit means Brexit.
You mean any issue?
We're sick of it in the news, and we're sick of hearing what's going on with it. But there does need to be some discussion.
But it's still important.
Answers, outcomes.
It's still important, right?
I mean, the biggest thing that people were interested in under Brexit was what they call the Irish question. Because Ireland's an island off the west coast of the mainland UK, and the top part of it, Northern Ireland, is part of the UK, but the bottom part is Eire, or Southern Ireland, and it is part of the European Union. It uses the euro, whereas the rest of the UK mainland still uses pound sterling. So they're separate countries, even though they're on the same island.
Yep.
At the moment, there is no border, so you can wander back and forward. You can live in one, work in the other, you just drive across, it's not an issue. But once Brexit comes, these are going to be two separate countries.
That's going to be a mess.
Reason, a hard border didn't appeal to anyone involved, because if you wanted to drive to work, you get stopped at a border, you'd have to cross the border to go to work in another country. And
plus, we're kind of missing one of the major aspects of it, which is that the Irish border has a lot of cultural and historic significance in very recent years, where it involved terrorist bombings. It was so prevalent in some people's minds because it boggles down to culture, nationality, and religion. And the identity of I am British versus I am Irish is a big thing for both people in Northern and in bog standard Ireland. And this border would be solidifying some of those views one direction or another and making others very, very angry about the fact that there is more of a separation between those two standpoints. So the point is that people are going to die pretty much no matter what because of Brexit in the Irish border. No matter, even if it's a soft border, I imagine people are going to die from the Brexit outcome.
I hope
and
that
that's part of where we have to take on our shoulders and accept.
Yeah, I hope that the individuals that are going to be most directly affected are smarter than the government trying to figure out the rules around it. That people will use common sense beyond what is being dictated from above. In that sense.
I certainly hope so. One of the fears is it would be a resurrection of what they call the Troubles. Back to, because that was a horrible time. I mean, that went on right up until after you were born. It's been that recent.
I've got
and the bombings.
I've got friends from university.
That's right.
Who are Irish who lost.
Yeah, the Irish
members.
was major. People forget, and they don't look to history to see that wasn't that long ago.
That's
Right?
No,
We were still hearing about
alive, the ones who were affected.
Well, we were still hearing about those.
From that,
We were hearing about those bombings in the 90s, right? That you were still having IRA and all these other elements involved doing very specific bad things in those regions. And the Brexit thing is potentially going to destabilize that even further and just like risk, right? So no, that's a real concern, things like that. And I won't get into the bigger politics stuff. Thankfully, I have avenues to do so with some of the people I work with that are from other countries, that I can get into more specifics of how the world sees what the United States is portraying itself at currently. And it's amazing how many times people don't really understand, in my mind, that perspective, or how maybe we should care about what the world as a whole thinks about the U.S. I know there's a lot of United States citizens who believe the U.S. will succeed no matter what anybody else thinks of us in the world. And I hope that they will see bigger than that, as much as they like the idea that we in the United States are big, bad, and control everything in the world and the best place to ever be and all these things, that a lot of that does matter as to how the rest of the world treats us. That allows that to somewhat be true. And so for me, I usually, and we would have to take this offline maybe to talk about like the perspective from those not within the borders of the United States. Because I am interested in it, and I believe, much like I talk about anyone who has the opportunity, please travel, because the more you get outside of what your comfort zone is, your little area that you maybe grew up, the more you start to understand how the world really interacts together.
If you can't physically travel, at least let your mind travel. Go talk to somebody from somewhere else.
Yeah, get online. We're connected.
Hear their viewpoints on stuff that you care about and stuff from their own country, and you will learn a lot.
Yeah, ask questions and take the time to listen. Don't to really just hear.
Talk to your neighbors, because they've been around the world probably as well.
So it's interesting.
With that, we are at time.
We are. Is there any last minute
shopping and such?
Yeah, you guys are going to run out and be out. I am going to get ready to host people here. I'm just getting messages, people wanting to come over now to get ready to play some big bad board games tonight here at my house. And so
we are jealous.
We will be getting out of here. So I'm just double checking. I don't think there was anything pending news-wise that was like, this has to be told today. So I think it is okay for us to end things essentially on time today. Hey, every once in a while there's something that happens like, I need to talk about this. This matters, people. Like making decisions about your technology rights, and you need to go yell at people or something. Yeah,
that is important.
Sometimes there are, so it happens. Oh shoot, I don't see who did that because I put the kitty cam over the alert box. So who was saying that?
Oh yeah. Thank you for liking and or following us.
People. Yes, I was like, darn it, I just put it because kitty cam's important. So,
yes,
but with that,
damn right.
I think it is time for us to end things. Very much appreciate, May, for you joining us today on the show. Absolutely lovely and enjoy it. Like to hear some proper Scottish every once in a while, since we don't get the opportunity. Ken, I have yet to get you drunk enough to get you to speak Scottish again.
That's because, like you, we both have that problem of struggling to get drunk. But I'm sure we will challenge that in the near future.
Hey, again, so when Ken comes out to the Colorado mountains, we will rectify that, and I will capture it.
More oxygen in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
He's going to cheat, you see. So that's the only way he'll win.
Hey, it is
years of training up there.
It is that Ken still doesn't respect altitude, because I still recalled very distinctly going to the reception and you being put off that I was not under the table drunk at the reception, that I was still dancing around and having fun with everyone, even though everybody was buying me drinks. And this is the reverse of thank goodness for lots of oxygen in my body when I train at high altitude. So, so this is the reverse. So anyhow, it is time for us to do our spiel. So we're going to get out of here. But again, thank you, May, very much. Appreciate the stories. Always lovely to have you around and to talk to you. With that, Ken, would you lead us out properly?
Sure thing. You have been listening to ShowX live on twitch.tv/VCW ShowX, on YouTube, on Versus the World videos, and on Facebook Live. We very much appreciate it. You can check us out all over the web. You can support us by sending in emails to showx@VWRussians.com if you want to take part off air, not live in chat. You can support us on patreon.com/showx, where you can give us a minimum of $1 per month. And we very much appreciate that too. Thank you very much, Sasha Taranto, for liking the stream too. That's great.
Hey, that's one of my old workmates. Oh, that's awesome.
Yay. You can also support us on twitter.com/drkenreid for me, /DocDead for Mr. Wayne, and /ShowX for the show itself. And I don't believe you have a Twitter. Do you have a Twitter? Do you have a Twitter account? That's a no. That's a no.
If not, May, is there anything you would like to press people towards that they can follow anything you're doing or your husband or something else that you want people to follow and be aware of?
Ooh.
And they don't really have an online presence other than my dad's Facebook page for business.
I love seeing your dad's business page and seeing like the things that make me feel that I need to be doing a lot more physically active things every day of my life.
Well, he does have a lot of motivational, physical.
But it's on his personal profile,
Yes.
so he used to use a page, but not anymore. So we probably shouldn't give out his personal profile on air.
Probably not.
No, I don't think there's anything.
No.
Okay, that is totally fine.
You can also check us out on Facebook.com. Search for ShowX there. You can find us there. And you can find us on Reddit.com/r/ShowX. Be sure to go there. This show will be auto-posted there, so if there's anything you want to talk about, about the show, like any of the politics we talked about, or game news, or anything like that, you can go and talk about it there. And lastly, that link that I put in the chat earlier from a11.com, go click on that if you want to get your 3 free audiobooks, and it also helps out the show if you sign up. You can cancel before you get your first payout of your credit card or whatever that you sign up with. So you can get those completely for free, so long as it's your first time signing up for Audible. I do recommend it. They're great. It's a good thing to have when you're traveling on the bus, or if you're waking up in the morning, going to sleep with. It's very useful. Thank you very much for hosting the show today, sir. We appreciate it. And thank you so much, Mum, for joining me on my show.
Thank you for allowing me to come and join you. And I would like to say a copy, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. She said it was a pleasure meeting you, and it's a pleasure hearing from you, Copy, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been bra. I would have been more comfortable with my baffies on, but
Handle also said.
Handle as well. Yeah. Yes, thank you. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad you have enjoyed it too.
You're now a celebrity. So thank you very much, Wayne. We appreciate it.
Absolutely love having you guys on, and thank you everyone for checking us out. Sorry about the little bit of hiccup in the middle as the internet decided to just not keep the stream, but that is what we sacrifice as we try to provide you better quality and beautiful kitties and stuff like that on the stream these days. But with that, please check us out, and if you want to really support us, feel free to like us on any of the networks or places that you see us. Follow us on Twitch if you're available, or follow us to catch the aftermath and see all of our old shows on YouTube. We'd love to have you, but sharing us out, sharing our links when they go live, that's really how you can help us out, and we hope you had a good time and enjoyed watching today. So with that, we are out of here, and thank you all. Have a lovely week, and we will catch you next time. Actually, real quick, I do have to say, because I have to do the maths, but double check. But I know it's either the week leading up or after next show. I have to double check the maths. I think it's leading up. A preemptive happy birthday to Miss Copy, because I know that is coming up very soon. So,
keep an eye on your Steam copy.
Heads up to that. All right, guys. With that, we're out of here. Thank you very much.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.